my name is Josh and I'm doing another tutorial. Today I'm going to basically show you how to fly a helicopter. Pretty simple, huh? Not really. Helicopter is actually very difficult to fly and one of the most complicated pieces of machinery, travel-wise, that pretty much known to exist. Anyway, flying a helicopter is comprised of three different controls. You've got the collective right here, the lever that you see moving up and down ever so slightly. The cyclic, which you see moving around right here. And the rudder. You can see the pedals moving around down there. Pretty simple here. The collective that I'm looking at is used to gain altitude. It pitches the blades in such a way that they direct airflow downward and basically sort of push you off the ground. So that's pretty much go juice. That's up and down altitude. You've got the cyclic here. You want to move forward, push the cyclic forward. Move back or slow down, pull it back. To slide left, move it left, or to roll left, should I say, move it left. To roll right, move it right. And the rudder controls yaw. If you want to make the nose go left, use left rudder. If you want to make the nose go right, use right rudder. In a conventional helicopter, the rudder pedals are connected to a tail rotor in the back, or anti-torque rotor that directs the air in the opposite direction in which the main rotor head is turning to counteract the torque generated when collective is applied, or in general when the blades are turning. In this case, this is a dual coax rotor, as in they are on top of one another, obviously. And they rotate in opposite directions to cancel out the torque. And the rudder in the back performs more like a fixed-wing aircraft. When you get up to speed in a helicopter, we'll say around 75 to 100 knots, this will start to behave more like a fixed-wing aircraft, and less like a rotary wing. There is a gauge right here that measures the angle or deflection of the blades, and there's also a torque meter. And I haven't flown in a while, and honestly could not tell you. I believe that this is torque right here. So you always need to keep an eye on torque. Torque is what is generated when you add collective, or when you spool up the engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off, and we're going to go over some maneuvers. I'm going to show you how to hover, how to move forward, how to move backwards, how to turn on a point, how to land, and how to slide from left to right. So right now I'm going to use these two yellow handles and put us at flight power. You'll notice that our engine RPM just went up right there. Helicopters generally fly at about 90% power, 96% power, and really the only differences that are made from then on are with the collective and changing the angle of the blades, much like a constant speed propeller in a fixed wing aircraft. So to take off, gently add collective, which I'm doing here. This aircraft is trimmed to want to drift backward. If you notice, the nose just lifted up, and so I'm going to have to add a little bit of cyclic forward. See how I just pushed the nose back down, but if I let it off, it'll drift back. This aircraft will want to drift backward once it lifts off the ground. So a little bit more cyclic or a little bit more collective will get us off the ground. Right there. And we are off the ground. I'm going to raise the landing gear. And I'm going to apply a little bit of forward cyclic to keep us where we want to be. For everything that you do in a helicopter, you have to offset it somehow. Notice we're kind of drifting here. I'm keeping us in one spot reasonably well. I haven't flown in quite a while. But basically hovering is nothing more than a bunch of fine changes. It's recognizing if you're moving forward, moving backward, or left or right, and addressing those changes. Like I'm doing here. I'm only about maybe 4 feet or so off the ground. Let's look outside. Maybe 6. Can't do that too long, I might crash. Okay, in order to turn on a point here, I'm going to do a quick 360, and this is done with the rudder. I'm going to move it left, so I'm just going to do left rudder. Always look in the direction of your turn. You notice that we're relatively lined up with the center, and start coming out right about there. You want to stop your turn with the rudder probably about, depending on how fast you're going, you want to start rolling out about 20 degrees before you're heading for your desired heading. So we're sort of back in a hover here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to gain a little bit of altitude. That's done with collective. Again on the left, I'm going to gain us some altitude here. And in order to stop climbing, all you really got to do is just pull back on the collective until you stop going up. Keep an eye on the rate of climb, or a VSI, vertical speed indicator. And now I'm going to pitch us forward, or I'm going to pitch the nose down using the cyclic forward. And this will gain us speed. You can see it clicking off on the HUD, 59, 60, and you can see the speed gauge going up just left of the artificial horizon. So that's how you gain speed. Now, whenever you gain speed, typically, since you're pitching the nose down, the aircraft will want to go nose down, so you might have to add a little bit of collective to counteract that. Right now we're going along pretty good. We're not climbing, we're not descending. Now I'm going to show you how to slow down. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back on the collective just a little bit so that you don't balloon or pop up, and I'm going to pitch the nose up. Again, I'm pulling back on collective as I'm doing this because I don't want to gain altitude while I'm slowing down. You can see our speed bleeding off right there, 41, 39, 76. So I'm going to bring us back down to where I was at before, or about. It says we're at 19. This is meters, of course.
Lower gear.
Okay, there we are.
Lower gear.
I should also mention that you don't want to descend too fast straight down where you can get caught in your own downwash, and the only way to remedy that or to gain altitude is to slide left, right, forward, or back and get out of that vortex. Otherwise you're going to go in. So right now I'm doing what's known as a hover taxi. We're just moving along really slow, and I'm going to turn us here to line up with this taxiway in just a second. And I will show how to slide left and right. Again, I'm going to pull back just a little bit. Really not even pulling back, I'm just kind of centering the stick really because this thing is trimmed nose up. So, I'm going to make a right 90. And again, roll out of your turn before you get on your heading. And if you were moving forward when you did that, if you notice I was sliding a little bit, so basically I still had the forward momentum. Now, to slide sideways, I'm going to slide left, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving the cyclic to the left, and I'm going to move the rudder to the right to keep the nose on point. And to come out of this, I'm going to continue to hold the nose or the rudder to the right, and just move the cyclic in opposite direction that you're moving. Now I'm going to slide back to the right here. This is done with right cyclic and left rudder. And you might want to add just a little bit of collective here. You notice I just lost some altitude.
Lower gear.
I'm going to make another 90 here. I'm going to gain some speed and do one lap around and then show you how to come in and land. Now when you start going faster, I'm doing 130-ish knots, 140, this will become more like a fixed-wing aircraft, for example. I'm rolling with my turn and I'm only using a slight amount of rudder. And I'm making a nice coordinated turn. Now what will happen if you use too much rudder while you're going very fast, it will slow down really quick, like I'm doing here. And if you notice, my speed just bled off quite a bit. So I'm going to land over there by the, you may not be able to see it here, but there's like a reddish orange building just to the left of my HUD, pretty much right in the center now. I'm going to land right there, gear down, start bleeding off that speed. Again, nose up a little bit, start easing back on the collective so that you can start losing some altitude, as I'm doing here. I'm coming in a little bit faster than what you normally would. And I'm just basically going to inch it forward. Be very, very gentle. I'm going to go right along here into this taxiway in between these blue lights. And again, like I said, the key to this is to be extremely gentle. And if you look down at the cyclic, I'm hardly even moving it. People tend to get a little grabby, you can say, at times. And it's also important to note that when you start descending, it provides, if you're in a hover and you start descending from a higher altitude, it provides the illusion that you're actually drifting backwards, but you're really not. So keep that in mind. I'm going to make 180 here, and I'm going to set us down. It's going to be kind of sloppy probably. All you got to do here is just keep the nose on heading, keep an eye on your speed, and just gently lower the collective. There you go. That's kind of a sloppy landing. Obviously I can do better with more practice, as can you. So be sure to lock up your wheel brakes and you won't drift. This is very, very important. If you land on the ship, you don't want to go off the side. Anyway, I'm going to throttle down, and I hope this helped. Thanks for watching.